Hello, every pony. Scar89 here. It is almost 11:30 at night. I really wanted to read the next chapter of Hoennshy, so I thought I would record now. Better late than never. Of course, I'm probably not going to upload this till tomorrow because it takes forever to do so. Um, Before I start, please excuse any background noise you may hear. It's just my brother. He's playing zombie whatever downstairs on his Xbox. So without further ado, let us start Chapter 5 of Hoennshy. Chapter 5 Legacy. Beep, beep, beep! Fluttershy's Pokedex began beeping as the clock struck 9 o'clock. Petalburg Gym was lit up to illuminate the path for aspiring trainers and to welcome them to the Pokemon League. Fluttershy was not one of them. The sun had set hours ago, giving way to the moon and stars whose light was drowned out by the buzzing city lights. As she stood near the building, a group of young ponies opened the door and entered with a large blue mud skipper with orange body protrusions and two dark blue fins on its head. It made Lurse look like a small chew toy in comparison, which caused Fluttershy to shiver. "Hey, is it time for your fight yet?" Rainbow Dash asked excitedly. It had been a few hours since their meal at the Horse de Jour, and she seemed very antsy for something interesting to happen. "Also, did you see all those ponies staring at me and Pinkie Pie? We must be so cool here." "Maybe it's because you aren't wearing any clothes," remarked Fluttershy as she glanced at Rainbow's exposed hide. She shook her head and looked back at the gym. "Anyway, I'm not fighting. I didn't fight that colt near Old Daletown, so why would I fight a League member?" At that moment she felt Alurse rub its head against her leg, making her feel a little less anxious. "If you aren't going to do anything, then why are we waiting here? We could be doing so many other things like exploring those woods over there. Or we could see what else is in this town," Pinkie argued. She looked around, surveying her surroundings for anything better to do. At least that's what Fluttershy thought she was doing. "Those memories I have from that girl is telling me I have to go to the gym while I'm here. If I don't, then those headaches will come back." Fluttershy primitively rubbed her head, then quickly sat her hoof back down. "While I'm here, I'd like things to be as calm as possible." Tension-filled minutes slowly ticked by as the three waited. The night was quiet. The bustle of the small town had halted, leaving only lit windows and illuminated business signs for any of them to take notice of. The forests were pitch black due to the town's light, which caused Fluttershy to feel cramped and tense. Back in Ponyville, the moon's light would dance across the ground with help of the stars, allowing all of Equestria to be seen at night. Even the Everfree Forest, which Fluttershy steered clear of, felt more inviting than the oppressive void that the forest had become. A few minutes later, the group of ponies came out of the gym, ecstatic. The blue unicorn was holding a case with several pins in the air with his mouth, hollering and jumping around with excitement. Fluttershy watched as she entered a building with a light red roof to celebrate. She took a deep breath and checked the time on her Pokedex. 9:27 p.m. After closing the device, she set it back in her bag and headed toward the door, in silence with Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie following in suit. She took one last deep breath and entered the gym. The inside felt much more massive than the outside had implied. It was built like a fighting dojo, punching bags attached to the ceiling with chains, mats and a hardwood floor with two distinct sides separating it. A Pokeball design was placed in the center of the gym floor. It seemed to be the theme in this town. Red bleachers covered the perimeter with several ponies in the crowd with signs. Bright white fluorescent lights hung from the ceiling. It was a little much, Fluttershy thought. "Wow, this place is huge!" Pinkie Pie said excitedly. "Welcome to Petalburg Gym!" a voice bellowed from the other side of the gym. A light brown stallion with a short black mane approached the three with a smile on his face. "Congratulations on getting—" He paused and started to quick gallop over to Fluttershy. "May, you're my 9:30 challenger? The computer must have screwed something up. Your name came up as a weird mess of characters. I'm surprised they let you come here so early." He hugged her, making her shrink back. "How is the move?" My name's not..." Fluttershy started and was halted by a short twinge of pain. After squeezing her eyes shut, she opened them and squeaked, "It was fine." She paused. "Dad?" Fluttershy? What are you? So who are you two? The stallion asked, cutting Rainbow Dash short. He looked at them with a puzzled look. "You're two naked friends." Fluttershy regained her composure. She could feel the confidence of the girls her memories were from coming through as she talked to the stallion. "This is Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie." She pointed to both of them and looked down at Alerce. "And this is Alerce, my, uh, Turtwig?" Her face went flush. She couldn't stand not knowing what an animal is called, and she had no way of remembering if she was wrong, and the stress was making it hard for her to remember. "Haha, that is a Turtwig, I assure you. I'm surprised Birch gave you a Pokemon all the way from Sinnoh," he said, trotting back to the opposite side of the arena. Um, actually, he was a Trico for... Alright, let's see what your Turtwig can do," the stallion said, facing them with a Pokeball at the ground. "My name is Norman, the 5th gym leader of Hoenn's Pokemon League. I humbly accept your challenge." Fluttershy's eyes widened. "Fifth?" She began to shake. "How could this be happening?" she thought. I won't fight you," she tried to say as her vision became white and she felt a wave of dizziness rush over her. She wobbled back and forth and fell over. She heard a faint voice to her left reverberating through her head. "Hey, Dad!" Fluttershy quickly opened her eyes and turned her head. The girl from the day before was standing right next to her. She could see her in much better detail than before, but her body was still wispy and translucent. Her face was like that of a monkey's, but it was sleek, with a pointier chin and smaller nose. Her hair was only on the top of her head, flowing down like a mane. The spirit's eyes were much smaller on her head proportion-wise than Fluttershy, and she was a little taller than her as well. Fluttershy looked around frantically for something familiar, but Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie were gone. The bleachers were empty as well. "May, I didn't expect to see you here," the strange-looking Norman said, hugging May. He was wearing a red jacket and black pants like he had outside the vision. He towered over Fluttershy, making her a little anxious. "How was the move? Did you get your Pokemon yet?" "Yeah!" she shouted as she grabbed a Pokeball from her belt and released a Trico. "I got him from Professor Birch for saving him from a Zigzagoon." Fluttershy couldn't believe what she was seeing. May still had her Trico intact. Why Alerce changed into a Turtwig that morning was all she could think about as this transpired. Norman bent down and patted the Trico on the head. "He looks like a strong one. Maybe he can battle someday when you get stronger." He looked up at May and placed his hand on her shoulders. "We have a legacy to uphold, May. Do the best you can and have fun. I'll be rooting for you." "Thanks, Dad," May responded, sending the Trico back into the Pokeball. She turned away and headed toward the door. "Wait, there's a boy outside. It's Wally, I think. Could you show him how to catch a Pokemon? It would really make the kid's day." Sure," May responded as she closed the door behind her. "Good luck," Norman yelled as Fluttershy's vision went white again. She shivered, trying to make sense of the scene. Before she knew it, her vision was perfectly clear again. She was head down in her hooves and the arena was completely silent. Embarrassed, she slowly lifted her head, seeing all the ponies in the gym staring at her with concern contorting their expressions. She got up to her 4 hooves and quickly uttered an apology. "Are you all right, Fluttershy? You had us worried for a bit there," Rainbow Dash asked, but got no response. Fluttershy could only think about the vision and how everything in this situation felt wrong. Norman was waiting for a white feral monkey with a red tuft of hair on its forehead out of the field. She couldn't help but notice its large black claws as well. After a deep breath, Fluttershy called out, "I won't fight you!" A sharp pain coursed through her head, causing her to double over. She took some quick breaths and let the pain subside. "Why is the pain coming back? I'm not supposed to fight him," she thought, trying to deny Norman again. After feeling another shot of pain coming on, she decided enough was enough. "All right, I'll fight you," she heard the crowd roar. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Pinkie asked. It was the first time Fluttershy had seen Pinkie upset since her surprise birthday fiasco, but she had no other choice. I'm fine," she stated coldly. "Alerce, please be careful." The small turtle made his way onto the field and looked back with a smile on his face. The crowd roared. Streamers flew as air horns were let off. Let the next chapter of our legacy begin, May, Norman said, pointing out to the monkey. Vigoroth, use Focus Punch! At that moment, Vigoroth's right fist started to glow white. Fluttershy could see the raw fire in its eyes. Panicking, she dug through her bag and whipped out her Pokedex. She opened it up, hoping it could give her some answers. It beeped as it was opened, and the screen began to glow. It showed a screen with an image of a Lurse with a list of attacks he had skill enough to perform. One attack stuck out to her. It was the only one she was willing to do. Alert! Use withdraw! Fluttershy commanded, hoping it was enough to ward off whatever that beast was going to do. Alert nodded and shielded himself. Not a moment later, the Vigoroth sprung forward, arching its arms back and slammed its fist into Alert and the ground, sending him flying and tumbling across the room. It stood there, arched over with a look of malice as it clenched its teeth, bound after bound. Alert slammed into the ground, Fluttershy's heart missing a beat with every crunch that she heard. Her lower lip began quivering as Alert finally stopped sliding across the ground. He wasn't moving. Alert? Fluttershy squeaked, rushing toward the Turtwig. Her throat began to close and tears welded up in her eyes. She tried to say something else as she examined Alert's mangled body, but nothing came out. Turtwig is unable to battle, a pony in a black and white striped shirt announced. Fluttershy's body trembled and small audible sobs were drowned out by the exuberant cheering of the crowd. She nudged Alert with her hoof, trying desperately to find out the damage he took. There were multiple bruises on his head and legs, with several scrapes as well. There was a faint smile on his face, but Fluttershy couldn't keep her composure any longer. Fluttershy? Rainbow Dash asked, placing her hoof on Fluttershy's back. I... Fluttershy squeaked as she picked up the alert. I'm sorry, she cried as she bolted out the door with tears streaming down her face. Fluttershy, wait! Pinkie Pie yelled out, galloping out of the gym with her. What did you do? Fluttershy heard Rainbow yell out at Norman, but that's all she could hear before she powered her way through the town and into the forest. After landing on a small, dew-covered patch of grass, she let down Alert and quickly went through her bag. Inside was a few rolls of cloth bandages and patches laced with herbal antiseptics. She started to tape Alert's wounds, trying her hardest to see through the veil of tears in her eyes. After all the wounds were wrapped, she bowed her head, letting all the emotions she had bottled up rush to her at once. Fluttershy, are you all right? You left so quickly I didn't see what happened, Pinkie asked, trying to comfort her. I don't think I can save him, Fluttershy sobbed, looking up at Pinkie. What do you mean? The worry in Pinkie's voice only made Fluttershy more ashamed. Turtles are fragile creatures, and with the impact of that punch, there's probably internal bleeding, and I can't... Fluttershy felt her heart break in two. He's going to die just because I didn't want another headache. She let her head sink into her hooves and just cried. They even cheered. It'll be all right, Pinkie stated, trying to comfort her brawling friend. It's not your fault. They made you fight the fifth guy. All Pinkie could do was watch Fluttershy wail in the grass. There was nothing she could do for her. She trotted around Fluttershy and looked at Alert. His eyes were open and was trying to move. He shook his head, looking as if he was just trying to shake it off. Are you all right, Alert? That looked like that hurt, Pinkie tried saying to the Turtwig. He turned to her and slightly smiled, still obviously in pain. You don't look like you're dying. But I've never seen anyone die, so I wouldn't know. Hey, Fluttershy, do dying animals normally walk around like this? Fluttershy's head snapped up at Pinkie's inquiry. She took her hoof and wiped the tears from her eyes and saw Alert struggling to move around, but he was moving nonetheless. What? How is he? She sniffed, moving closer to see him better. She couldn't understand it. In all the years she had been a veterinarian, she had never seen an animal make such a miraculous recovery with no medicine so quickly. Hey, there you two are, Rainbow Dash said as she flew toward the two. What happened? Are you all right? I'm fine, and so is Alert, amazingly, Fluttershy responded, picking up Alert. I have no idea how he survived that hit, but he seems to be making a good recovery. That's what I figured after talking to that Norman guy. He was saying something about how polka men are resilient, so Alers was easily able to take a hit like that. He was wondering why you left in such a hurry. Wait, when did you talk to Norman? Fluttershy asked, confused. After I was done yelling at him. He told me a lot, actually. He also gave me this chip to put into your computer thing. Rainbow took a small chip out from her hair and brought it down to Fluttershy, who started to dig through her bag. What does it do? Fluttershy asked as she opened the Pokedex up. It registers me for the League. Fluttershy's eyes widened at Rainbow's explanation. She dropped the Pokedex as her mouth went agape. What? Fluttershy snapped. After what you just saw in there, how could you want to do this? She was shaking from the confrontation, but she had to say something. I had to do it after seeing what these Pokemon... Pokemon! Right. Anyway, I had to sign up after seeing what those things could do. I've never seen anything create a crater in the ground after one punch. We need a way to defend ourselves, and those things are what we need. So you want to exploit them? I thought better of you, Rainbow Dash. Rainbow groaned. No, Norman told me everything about the League, and since he isn't so confused with weird memories, I trust he knows what he's talking about. Fluttershy sat down, somehow knowing it was going to be a long explanation. Okay, so these Pokemon are born to fight. They're really easy to train, so ponies can easily make them really strong really quickly. Okay, Fluttershy said, almost knowing that was the case. Her memories, she found, were becoming more and more useful. Surprisingly, Pinkie was quiet as Rainbow spoke. So, because they're so easy to train and with the strange powers they have, they're basically animal weapons in the wrong hooves. Weapons? That's a little much, Pinkie interrupted. Whatever, just listen, Rainbow snapped in frustration. So the League here was set up to train ponies to protect themselves using these Pokemon, since we can't do any magic ourselves. They don't fight for sport, they fight for self-defense. Well, at least that's what Norman told me. Alers leapt from Fluttershy's hooves and started to walk around. It had been night for longer than they had thought. The air was now cold, with the moon now comfortably situated in the sky. The lights in the buildings had all but gone out, with the street lights making the town feel lifeless. So, what do we do about a place to sleep for the night? Rainbow asked, trying to change the subject. Norman told me that there's this thing called a Pokemon Center that houses trainers for free for the night. We could try that. That sounds like a great idea, Pinkie said, springing up to her hooves. Is that center the only building over there with its lights on? She pointed to a building that a light blue glow coming from the windows and a white Pokeball symbol lit up on the roof. Well, what are we still doing here? Let's check it out! Rainbow flew off, leaving a rainbow streak behind her. Pinkie hopped along to follow as Fluttershy picked up her medical supplies. She picked up Alers with her head hung low and made her way to the building to check up to the other two. I still don't want to fight. The inside was filled to the brim with cots and mats for ponies to sleep on. There was a direct path to a pink mare with a white doctor's coat behind a counter. Rainbow and Pinkie were waiting by her, striking up a conversation. Fluttershy daintily made her way past the mob of ponies, looking at all the medical equipment behind the counter. Welcome to the Pokemon Center. How can I help you tonight? The mare asked, bowing her head slightly. Do you have any more rooms for the night? I mean, with the amount of... Of course, but we only have room left downstairs, the mare interrupted. Okay, we'll head down then, I guess, Fluttershy stated as she started to fly off to the stairs. Wait, these two were telling me about an injured Pokemon you have? The mare inquired, stopping Fluttershy in her tracks. They said you were pretty devastated when it happened. Fluttershy's face turned red as she flew back over, taking Alers out from the cradle of her forelegs. She placed him on the counter. He was already sleeping. Here he is. What are you going to do? She was still slightly panicked. Don't worry. Pokemon centers are here to heal Pokemon when they're injured in battles. He'll be all better by the time you wake up in the morning. The mare laughed a little. It looks like you tried your hoof in healing him yourself. You have a good eye for patient care, it seems. Fluttershy wasn't used to getting compliments about her veterinarian skills. She liked it quite a bit. The mayor took a nurse and placed him and a bed, letting a pink blob creature with stubby arms and a nurse hat wheel him off to the care center and back. Thank you, Fluttershy said as she flew down the stairs. The basement was just as full of ponies as the main lobby, most of them already asleep. It was as lit up as the lobby had been, making Fluttershy wish that they would have slept under the stars like she did the night before. There was a small empty section of the floor, enough for the three to tightly fit in. Luckily, only one pony was snoring. So, you have any sleeping gear in that bag? Rainbow asked. I might. I haven't really had a chance to go through this yet. Fluttershy dumped out the contents of the bag to find anything the three could sleep on. All she could find was one small rolled-up sleeping mat. She sighed and unrolled it. I shouldn't have fought Norman today. Are you still going on about that? Erlers is fine. You didn't do anything wrong, Rainbow started. No, I mean, I really shouldn't have fought him. When he challenged me to fight and I refused, I got some kind of memory vision. She began cleaning up her supplies. The girl just talked to him and left to show some kid how to catch Pokemon. Something weird is happening. Huh? That's strange, Pinkie said. Did anything else weird happen today? I already told you about... Fluttershy paused as she thought about the vision. So the girl in the vision had a Trico, the Pokemon I got from the professor back in that town I ended up in. Like I told you before, Elurs had turned into a Turtwig when I was asleep yesterday. All right, did you see anything strange then? Like a unicorn or a wizard? Pinkie asked as Rainbow groaned and slapped her hoof against her forehead. No, nothing like that. I remember my dream was just a normal dream, but something jolted me awake. That's when I checked on Elurs and he had turned into a Turtwig. Fluttershy paused and glanced at both her friends. You said that you came early this morning, right? Yeah, Rainbow said, then quickly snapped back. Wait, are you saying we did this? I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, Fluttershy said, shrinking back. Rainbow trotted to the small mattress and lied down, trying to make room for the other two. Let's just get some sleep, she muttered as she closed her eyes and turned to her side. Fluttershy snuggled into the middle as Pinkie flopped down on the other side. She closed her eyes and saw nothing but red on her eyelids, making it hard to get to sleep. But it didn't matter to her. She was just happy to have two of her friends help her in this strange world. The sounds of many voices woke Fluttershy up. She stretched out and shook to get the tension out of her joints, but something felt off. She couldn't feel Rainbow or Pinkie on either side of her. She opened her eyes and took a look, noticing they were both gone. Her bag looked rummaged through as well. Without thinking, she rolled up the mat, grabbed her bag, and flew up the stairs. When she reached the top, she saw a bunch of ponies in line for something. That's when it hit her. The smell of fresh baked goods, specialty fruits, and spices filled the air and pierced her nostrils. She licked her lips. With all the turmoil and thoughts, she hadn't paid any attention to how hungry she was. The line was relatively small. Most of the ponies had already gone through and taken their share. She flew over and waited, cocking her head to the side every once in a while to see what she could get. Hey, Fluttershy! Rainbow Dash called over, taking Fluttershy out of her hunger trance. Rainbow had a brown jacket with a white fluffy collar on, covering a white shirt, black pants covering her flank. Wait, did you go clothes shopping? Where did you get the money for it? Fluttershy asked, still trying to take in the sight of her friends with clothes on. Pinkie and I woke up before you so we could get some clothes. We kind of took some money out of your bag. We needed something. Fluttershy sighed, moving ever closer to the massive amount of food waiting on the table. Where's Pinkie? I thought you said she went with you. I'm right here! Pinkie shouted, springing out from behind Rainbow Dash. She had a light blue shirt with jean overalls on. I couldn't find anything that looked very fun, so I got something different. Looks good, huh? Fluttershy couldn't help but snicker. In all her time with her friends, she had never seen them look so ridiculous. She covered her mouth with her hoof, trying to distinguish the laughter. I'm sorry, it's just... Tears formed in her eyes as her laughter grew. A few seconds later, she sniffed and wiped the tears from her eyes. They look fine. Well, at least today's starting off better than yesterday, Rainbow said, glancing over at Pinkie. We should probably find some Pokemon to catch. We can't be out here forever with just a lurse. Rainbow dug through the pockets of the jacket, taking out several miniature Pokeballs. I picked up some of these as well. Thought we needed them. All right, Fluttershy said as she made her way to the start of the food-filled table. She grabbed a plate, took a small amount that filled her plate, and sat down to eat. Pinky and Rainbow came over and sat beside her. So what's the plan? Are we going to go off your weird, messed up memories? Rainbow asked. I can't really think of anything else to do. Twilight hasn't tried to talk to me lately, so I don't know how long it'll take them to find that spell, Fluttershy said, digging away at her food. I'll get a nurse after this. Then we should probably head west since that's the only other way out of town. Pinky and Rainbow nodded. With her plate cleared, Fluttershy scooted around other sitting ponies and reached the front desk. It had been the first night in this world with no Alurse, and she was anxious to see him again. Excuse me, my Turtwig was being taken care of last night? Could I get him back, please? Also, what do I owe for breakfast and lodging? The mayor turned to her, setting down her paperwork. The breakfast is complimentary, the mayor laughed. What was your Turtwig's name? Alurse. Let me go check. With that, the mayor went off into the back. The three waited in silence, both Pinky and Rainbow nipping at their new clothes. A moment later, Fluttershy saw Alurse on the cart the mayor was pushing, fresh and new. She took him off and placed him on the counter, letting him climb onto Fluttershy's bandana. There you go, good as new. Thank you, Fluttershy said, making her way out of the Pokemon Center with Rainbow and Pinky following behind. He really is resilient, she remarked. The sun was already halfway up in the sky, with a small haze of clouds making their way from the west. The humidity from the other day had returned, making the three squirm a little in their new clothes. Blech! This is going to be disgusting later, isn't it? Rainbow asked, finally fitting her wings out from under her clothes. I can already feel sweat soaking my pants. With that, Pinkie Pie suddenly burst out in laughter. Looking toward the path out, Fluttershy knew that where they had to go next, against the sweltering western wind. All right, let's see what Pokemon we can find. There has to be some cool ones out there, Rainbow hoped as they trotted and flew towards the western forest. And that is the end of Chapter 5. This one actually kind of felt like a short one. It kind of was a short one. So yeah, I'm not gonna edit this and put it up till tomorrow. Of course, when you hear this, it would already be tomorrow. So yeah, I will record chapter 6. This story is getting really, really good. So after I record chapter 6, I'll put it up, and I guess, until then, I will see you later.